This is Claire with another episode where I will be sharing my experiences. And in this episode, I'll mainly concentrate on effective study skills. This is to encourage anyone that might be beginning off a given level of study or might be much more old and advanced in their studies, as we all know that learning never ends. So in my work as a lecturer, I've often come across students that will most of the time leave their work until last minute. You ask some of them, how do you effectively study or how do you manage your assessments? And most of them will say, oh, I still have quite a lot of time. I wait until there is a little bit of more pressure for me to be able to handle that. If you are a last minute person and you have good capability of managing pressure, maybe that could work for you, but then it could mean that sometimes you just have like scrap passes. Whereas if you were to plan yourself and if you were to take your time and think about your studies and plan your assessments, probably you'll be ending up with much more higher grades than you are doing by leaving it to last minute. So, let's look at how you can be effective when it comes to studying. One thing that I learned when I was a student is you need to learn to plan your assessments. What do I mean by that? At the beginning of the semester or term, your teachers or lecturers will always give you the different assessments you will be covering within that term. When I used to be given the assessment plan and I knew how many assessments I would be writing by the end of every semester or term, I used to ensure that I write out those dates in my diary, and this meant that I am very aware, starting with the letters to the oldest, when is it that I'm supposed to submit the first assessment and when is it I'm supposed to submit the last assessment. And so on the day when the module was taught, I could sit down and listen to the lecturers or to the teachers, and then I remember I had jotted down some couple of things that I thought were important. And in the process of also putting these things down, I will ask myself a couple of questions that I thought will enhance my ability to understand what was being taught. And this was really helpful because I could discuss anything with the lecturers. And in particular, those things that seemed a little bit confusing or the things that I had picked up during my own study that I thought this will be worthwhile bringing it up to my teachers or lecturers and saying, could you explain a little bit more this concept or the other, because I don't particularly understand what this means. And as a result, I will jot down a few things again that they answered the questions that I was asking them. I also ensured that every single day I carved in time where I could sit down and reflect on the day and reflect on the lectures I had been through and to see what are some key things I can say at the end of that lecture or at the end of that day I was actually able to study or to grasp or to learn. And this meant every single day was a day to learn something towards my assessments. It may look like I was just a book student and did not have time to do other things. I always ensure that despite all this, once I've mapped up my assessments, I've done a plan to ensure that I understand what I need to do. I make time to read and study every single day. I also carved in time to play, and I knew when it's time to work, because you can't just keep on working without play. Play is also important. So when it came to the time of starting to write or to complete the assessment task, I always ensured I had some bullet points. And one thing I learned is that it's never too early to start writing. I could start writing up my assessments at the beginning of the semester because I'm trying to figure out, I need to ensure that I put all the points that I need so that I don't forget or I don't regret that I left something out. The other thing that I always did was to ensure that the task after I finished writing out, I'll ensure I've revised it several times, and this alleviates things like grammatical errors and things like that. And I will leave the work for the weekend without touching it, and then come back to it on a Monday for a where I have a renewed perspective. So to summarize my experience, I will suggest, if you're thinking of being effective, and in particular when it comes to assessments, begin early, plan your work, don't leave it until it's too late. It's never too early to start writing, and once that's finished, always remember, revise, 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 because you want to refine your work at the end of the day. Hopefully this was useful. Until next time, I'll see you in